Ah, ancient Greece. Some king has once again declared himself a god, Diogenes is bothering people somewhere, and we are watching one of the greatest military leaders of all time.
Ooh, how handsome I am. Ooh, descendant of the gods, heir to famous heroes. Ooh, how handsome I
want to
am.
be fired.
Ooh,
Alexander was born in the capital of ancient Macedonia, in the city of Pella, and in his younger years he received the best of everything. At the age of 10, he was able to tame the wild horse Bucephalus, and he was educated by Aristotle himself. So Alexander was strong in both mind and spirit. But he also had an Achilles heel, pride. Born into such a noble family, Alexander considered himself a descendant of Hercules.
Macedonia at that time was not experiencing its best days. The small state suffered from attacks by the Thracians and Illyrians, and in general, it survived only thanks to the support of other Greek countries, which, incidentally, considered them barbarians, even though they shared the same language.
But circumstances changed when Alexander's father, Philip, came to power. Philip II was able to dramatically increase state revenues, create a strong army, and subjugate the princes of Upper Macedonia. Only then did he turn his wrath against the Greek city-states, which still considered the Macedonians to be barbarians. Alexander commanded the Macedonian cavalry in this battle. It was his troops that delivered the decisive blow in this battle, after which the enemy army was surrounded and ultimately defeated. Soon, Philip was able to conquer almost all of Greece and was already preparing for a new campaign against the Persians to avenge the previous invasion. But before that, old Philip wanted to celebrate the wedding of his daughter Cleopatra with great fanfare.
I loved you, you bastard.
Yes, your father had a lover, and no, we will not discuss this again.
Alexander became king at the age of 20, after the undoubtedly tragic end of his father's life. Well, welcome to Greece. After Philip's death, the conquered states decided that the young Alexander was too weak to hold on to power, so they began to actively rebel. But they were wrong. Alexander was able to suppress all the uprisings. After that, he approached the rebellious city of Thebes and offered to surrender and hand over all the leaders of the rebels. At the same time, he demanded the release of Philotas, the commander of the Macedonian garrison. However, the city refused, choosing war instead. Alexander ordered his troops to storm the city. Fighting began. The Macedonians captured the walls, and Philotas escaped from the citadel. As a result, the rebel troops were surrounded and mercilessly slaughtered. The city was burned down, and its inhabitants were sold into slavery. After this battle, the rest of Greece fell silent, and the king himself began to plan an attack on Persia.
And Alexander was only 21. So maybe it's your turn to at least bring a woman to dinner with your parents?
Success on the battlefield depended largely on the reforms of the Macedonian army introduced by Philip II. In general, the former king made the cavalry the main striking force and also redesigned the phalanxes, equipping them with very long spears. Unfortunately, sometimes size really does matter.
Excuse me, Diogenes. I'm a fan of yours. I mean, I've heard about your ideas. I like you, so ask for anything you want. I'll give it to you.
Don't block my son. This is what I want.
Is that all? I can give you money, power, women.
But you can't block the sun. How unfortunate.
All right. I just want you to know that I'm going to Asia, and I'll get it soon.
Listen. I live in a filthy barrel, eat with dirty hands, and defecate wherever I please. But even for me, it's too dirty there. The only thing you'll get there is some kind of disease.
That's not true.
True.
Shall we make a bet?
Easy.
What can you offer me?
A bitten apple that I found in the trash.
Deal.
Alexander the Great, having gathered a large army, was ready to launch a military campaign against Persia in order to finally make his late father's dreams come true. He led his army into enemy territory and soon encountered the first powerful resistance on the Granicus River. The Persians outnumbered the Greeks. Everyone expected a real massacre, but the Macedonian army managed to quickly defeat the Persian cavalry and launch a counterattack. During this counterattack, the barbarian troops were defeated. Without stopping his march, the king captured the city of Sardis and later laid siege to Halicarnassus, to which, incidentally, the defeated Persian army had retreated. Without delay, Alexander ordered the assault to begin, in which the experienced Macedonian army gradually recaptured street after street. In the end, the commander of the Persian army, Memnon of Rhodes, ordered the city to be burned so that it would not fall into the hands of the Greek conquerors. Alexander the Great himself continued his campaign, capturing more and more lands. He even reached Gordium, where he faced a real intellectual challenge.
Alexander, faithful son of Zeus, descendant of Hercules, hold this knot. Prophecy says that whoever can untie it will become ruler of all Asia.
Done.
What? What did you do?
I just chopped it up.
He just cut it? He just cut it? Give it to me! I spent 12 years inventing this legend. How many years did it take to tie this knot? And he just cut it? Son of a whore! May the
So
three
did I
devils
succeed?
take him.
We'll see.
Alexander continued to advance eastward, and soon, in 331 BC, he met with Darius III, king of Persia, who held the title of King of Kings. It should be noted, however, that Darius himself was not a great conqueror and had only recently ascended the throne, as there was no more worthy claimant. He was respected in the empire for his bravery, but this bravery had not yet been demonstrated in major battles.
My king, Alexander is coming to us with an army. Would you like to lead the army yourself? Where does he rank in the King of Kings rating? Second, sir, right after you. Finally, this is my chance to show Persia who's boss.
Are you surprised that there is a ranking of kings? Aren't you surprised that we wear dresses? Nah.
Both armies met near the city of Issus and lined up their ranks. Historians of that time claim that Darius's army outnumbered the Greeks 15 times. However, if we take more realistic estimates, the maximum difference was only 2 times. The Macedonian army lined up in a fairly standard formation. They had cavalry on the flanks and infantry in the center. Archers were also positioned on the right flank. Persia practically repeated the same formation, but also positioned its infantry along the enemy's cavalry so that they would constantly threaten the Macedonian king's flank. The battle began with a Persian attack on the left flank of the Greek army. Bloody battles ensued, but neither side gave up their positions. Then the Macedonian infantry struck the center and began to offer serious resistance, making it possible to strike Darius's left flank. Alexander, having previously blocked the threatening Persian infantry, did just that. The Greek cavalry fearlessly broke into the enemy and began to cut them down. Having won the victory, the Macedonian king led his army to the center to build on his success. This forced the Persian king to flee. In the end, the Greek army prevailed and defeated the numerous Persian troops. Alexander himself took Darius's family captive and showed relative mercy.
This battle ended the Achaemenid hegemony in Western Asia and opened the way for Alexander to advance further east. And he was only 23 years old at the time. I don't know, maybe it's finally time to find a job. The next stop for the invincible Macedonian army was to be Egypt, but on the way there, an obstacle appeared in the form of Tyre. This Phoenician city, unlike other Phoenician cities, decided to resist to the end. After unsuccessful negotiations, during which the Tyrians killed the Greek envoys, Alexander finally resorted to military action. He burned the city's fleet, expanded the embankment,
and gave a rousing speech to his soldiers.
Brave warriors, I want to tell you that you are true lucky ones. Fighting under my command is worth a lot, and as you all know, I am a god. And recently, I spoke with other gods, and they said that we will easily win.
The Macedonians launched assaults. They even managed to break through part of the wall. But the Tyrians continued to fight, like animals driven into a corner, inflicting increasing losses.
To battle, my glorious warriors. The gods are on our side. I know it, you know it. We will win. All right, I'm getting out of here. We've lost here.
But suddenly, the fleet of Macedonian allies sailed into the city. The Tyrians were surrounded, and the Greeks eventually broke through the defenses and began a massacre, killing everyone in their path.
We did it! We won! Alexander, you are truly a god. You were right.
Actually,
Yes, I am God. Worship me.
After taking Tyre, nothing stood in the way of the Macedonian king conquering Egypt, where he was welcomed as a true hero and liberator. He was even crowned as the pharaoh of Egypt, and in the oasis of Siwa, the local oracle named Alexander the son of the supreme Egyptian god, Amun-Ra. So now Alexander has two fathers. Or is it three? I've lost count. Ancient Greece. Anything is possible here. However, the Macedonian king was not only known as a conqueror, he also founded many cities, all of which he named after himself.
So it will be Alexandria. This is probably Alexandria too. It's hard. Definitely Alexandria.
My king, perhaps it is time to stop naming cities after yourself. There are many heroes whose memory should also be commemorated.
What's your name?
My name is Ament.
No, now you are Alexandria.
The Macedonian king moved further east. He captures the city of Persepolis, the ancient capital of the Persians, and spent the winter there. The king also seized the city's treasury, which had been replenished over 200 years. As a sign that his revenge was complete, Alexander burned down the palace of the Persian kings and, gathering a group of Persian youths, sent them to Greece to be trained to form a new royal army. This was not surprising, since the old army was in a state of discontent. The commanders complained about the rift that had formed between them and Alexander. Meanwhile, the king himself began to hire more Persians, dressing in Persian clothes, betraying Greek culture, and praising himself even more as the king of kings. And so that the servants who had served him faithfully all this time would not complain, he began to execute anyone who opposed him even slightly.
You are executed. You are executed. Hey, say that I am handsome, or you will be executed too.
Yes, of course, my lord. You are very handsome.
Thank you. But you're still executed.
Despite the turmoil among the upper echelons, the ordinary soldiers remained loyal to Alexander. Therefore, they followed him further into India. On the way, they encountered Darius, who was fleeing from them in a wagon, but was ultimately killed by his own subjects, who believed that he had betrayed them. Upon reaching the Hydaspes River, they encountered the army of King Porus, which Alexander successfully defeated. Interestingly, the Macedonian king and Porus would later forget all grievances and become friends. Men really do know how to forgive. Despite its successes, this campaign did not come easily to Alexander. He lost his loyal horse Bucephalus. Many soldiers suffered from various ailments, and the losses in the army were truly felt. But the Macedonian king was not bothered by this, so he decided to press on.
No!
What did you say?
No! We're tired of rushing around for nothing. For the sake of, damn it, nothing!
I haven't been home in 11 years, and during that time, somehow I ended up with 2 newborn babies. I want to go home.
I am your home. I am your king. I am your god. So move along, I said.
What? Are you going to strike us with lightning? Get out of here, guys.
What? No, wait. I command.
And at that moment, Alexander realized that his power did not come from his blood or his name, but from the many thousands of soldiers who had always stood behind him.
And I just wanted to go somewhere far away and capture something. I don't know what.
Returning with his army, the Macedonian king realized that his empire was in chaos. So after cutting off a couple of heads and torturing several bodies, he restored order in his state. He immediately began to reform the army in order to march on Carthage and the West as a whole in the future. In the course of these reforms, he dismissed the veterans, who immediately revolted. But Alexander simply executed the leaders of the uprising and thus suppressed it. Ultimately, he also planned to unite Persia and Greece into one great empire and continue his own conquests further. But he died, and all his plans went down the drain. Alexander died in Babylon from some still unknown disease. After his death, the Macedonian king was buried in a golden sarcophagus, which was placed in another golden sarcophagus. Well, even after his death, Alexander remained that same shy bastard. The glorious empire that the Macedonian king of kings built during his lifetime immediately plunged into military conflicts and began to devour itself from within. At the peak of his abilities, he died tragically. And even though he was a terrible person, I almost feel sorry for him. But don't think that all his achievements disappeared after his death. His glorious wars ushered in a new era in human history, known as the Hellenistic period. His last words were truly wise.
Here I am, dying, and nothing can save me. I had so much gold, power, and wealth, but now it's all useless to me. It's all vanity in the end.
Gotcha? Knowing Alexander, he would have said something like,
Screw you all. I am the king of the world, and I will live forever.
By the way, Diogenes was right.